Welcome to HD Rare Coins, your ultimate source for rare coins, fascinating history, and the thrill of discovery. From legendary pennies to hidden gems, we explore the world of numismatics one amazing coin at a time. In the quiet corridors of Canadian numismatic history, the 2011 5-cent coin has slowly built a legend few could have predicted. At first glance, it seemed like any other year's issue, sturdy, nickel-plated steel, featuring the familiar and comforting image of the industrious beaver, a symbol Canadians had grown up with. Yet, as collectors and historians would soon discover, hidden among the millions struck at the Royal Canadian Mint were coins with characteristics so rare and compelling that they would eventually command a value that defied all expectations. Back in 2011, Canada was a nation on the move. The economy was recovering from global tremors, technology was changing the face of daily life, and yet, amidst all this change, the small 5-cent piece continued to carry the proud heritage of Canadian craftsmanship and tradition. It was a coin many carried without a second thought, a simple token exchanged for morning coffee, parking meters, and children's pockets jingling on their way to school, but hidden within the sea of these everyday coins, an extraordinary handful stood apart. These rare 2011 5-cent pieces, whether through subtle minting anomalies, specific die pairings, or unintentional over-polishing during production, bore secrets invisible to the casual observer but electrifying to those who knew where to look. For numismatists, the thrill of discovery begins with details so fine they seem almost like whispers of another world. A slightly doubled image here, a sharper than usual strike there, a misalignment so slight it takes a trained eye to catch. In the case of the 2011 nickel, several key indicators began to emerge: an unusually bold beaver design, doubling in the Queen's diadem, slight variations in the rim thickness, details that, while minute, could make the difference between a coin worth face value and one valued at six figures. Collectors who stumbled across these rare examples often did so by accident. A coin falling out of a pocket, a handful of change counted at the end of the day, a dusty old piggy bank finally emptied after years of neglect, these were the humble beginnings of incredible finds. Stories spread across forums and collector groups, each more unbelievable than the last. Tales of a young student paying for lunch with an old jar of coins, only to later discover that among them was a nickel worth more than a year's tuition. Stories of retirees, longtime hobbyists, who pulled a 2011 gem from the bottom of a forgotten drawer. The Royal Canadian Mint, always a symbol of precision and pride, produced hundreds of millions of coins in 2011, but as is the case with any mass production, anomalies were inevitable. The reasons behind the rarity of certain 2011 nickels remain a topic of lively debate among experts. Some suggest it was due to the overuse of dyes that had begun to degrade, creating minor but collectible errors. Others argue it was experimental preparation of planchets that inadvertently created coins of unusual luster and strike sharpness. Regardless of the origins, the market responded with fervor. Professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC began receiving an increasing number of 2011 nickels submitted for evaluation. High grades were rare, but when they came, the results were staggering. MS67S and higher commanded enormous premiums, and examples exhibiting recognized die errors became instant treasures. As the legend of the 2011 5-cent piece grew, so too did the competitive spirit among collectors. Bidding wars broke out at auctions, with attendees holding their breath as prices climbed higher and higher. What once might have fetched a modest sum was now routinely achieving astronomical results, culminating in the landmark sale where one exceptional example sold for a staggering $160,000. The room had gone silent as the final bid was placed, a collective exhale following the hammer's fall. Beyond the glittering world of auctions and elite collectors, the 2011 nickel captured the imagination of everyday Canadians as well. School children took to examining their lunch money. Families organized treasure hunts at home, poring over old coffee cans of spare change with magnifying glasses and bright lights. Coin shops saw new customers daily, their eyes wide with hope, their pockets heavy with dreams of fortune. It was, at its heart, reminder of something timeless, that hidden wonders can still exist in the most unlikely places. That an object so common, so overlooked, could contain within it a portal to history, craftsmanship, and human curiosity. It was a testament to the idea that magic, in its quiet way, still lived among the ordinary. for those lucky enough to possess one of these rare 2011 5-cent coins, the experience was more than financial. It was deeply emotional, a sense of connection to a broader narrative, a personal chapter in a story that spanned generations. The coin became a keepsake, a family heirloom, a source of wonder and pride, and for the rest of us, the legend of the 2011 nickel remains a source of inspiration. It reminds us to look closer, to pay attention to the small details, to treasure the everyday objects that pass through our hands. Because sometimes, tucked into the folds of ordinary life, we find something extraordinary. As the years pass, the mystique of the 2011 Canada 5 cents will only grow. Future generations will marvel at its story, scholars will write about it, and collectors will continue their hunt, driven by the hope that somewhere, somehow, another gleaming treasure is waiting to be found. In a world that often moves too fast to notice the small things, the 2011 5-cent piece stands as a shining reminder. Sometimes, it's the smallest discoveries that leave the biggest impact. As the story of the 2011 5-cent coin echoed across Canada and beyond, it began to weave itself into the fabric of popular culture. It was no longer just the subject of numismatic journals or coin collector newsletters, it was making headlines in mainstream media. Morning shows ran segments where smiling hosts emptied their pockets on live television, squinting at their coins under magnifying glasses. Newspapers printed bold headlines that asked the question on everyone's mind, could you be carrying a small fortune in your pocket? At the heart of this phenomenon was the simple truth that anyone could find one. Unlike rare art hanging in galleries or vintage cars hidden away in private collections, the 2011 nickel was out there, among the people, in circulation, in dusty jars, in old wallets forgotten in drawers. It was a rare piece of history that hadn't been locked away or guarded. It had lived an ordinary life until, quite suddenly, it became extraordinary. The Royal Canadian Mint, while proud of its long tradition of excellence, issued a series of quiet acknowledgements about the situation. They spoke carefully about the complexities of minting millions of coins annually and the inevitability of minor anomalies. To the mint's artisans, it was almost poetic that amidst all their efforts for uniformity, something truly rare had slipped through, carrying with it the purest spirit of discovery. Collectors who had once specialized in much older coins, centuries-old pieces rich with patina and history, found themselves turning their eyes toward this modern marvel. Forums dedicated to ancient Roman coins or medieval silver pennies were suddenly abuzz with discussions about the gleaming little nickel from 2011. Seasoned experts debated the finest points of die polishing, planchet preparation, and strike force, searching for answers to what exactly made these special examples so mesmerizing, and the stories kept coming. A young boy in Ontario who started collecting coins after a school project found a nearly flawless 2011 nickel among a pile of old change his grandmother gave him. His story went viral, and within days, he was featured on national news. Another tale surfaced of a retired couple in British Columbia, lifelong thrift shop enthusiasts, who discovered an exceptional 2011 coin inside a battered old coin album bought for just $5. Their joy and disbelief were captured in a touching video that spread across social media like wildfire. Auction houses around the world began listing 2011 nickels with reverent tones usually reserved for ancient relics. Catalogs described them with vivid language: a stunning survivor, a modern marvel of minting anomalies, the treasure of the decade. Each coin that crossed the auction block added new energy to the fever that surrounded the 2011 series. As the gavel fell at each auction, prices continued to climb, with the highest recorded sale reaching an unbelievable $160,000, a record that stunned even the most experienced dealers. In the soft breath of a cold Canadian spring in 2015, the Royal Canadian Mint continued a tradition that had stretched back for over a century, producing the humble yet iconic 5-cent coin. Small, rugged, and easily overlooked, the nickel had long been a fixture of everyday life in Canada. From vending machines to bus fare, from children's pockets to the hands of collectors, the 5-cent coin quietly stitched itself into the fabric of the nation's story. Yet among the millions minted that year, a handful would later rise to legendary status, becoming the object of desire for collectors around the world. The 2015 Canada 5 cents coin bore a familiar and comforting design. On one side, the proud beaver sat atop a rock, a symbol as Canadian as maple syrup or hockey. The beaver, industrious and resilient, had long represented the spirit of a nation that built its identity on perseverance and hard work. Designed originally in 1937 by artist G. Kruger Gray, the image remained largely unchanged, a tribute to tradition in an era when so much else seemed to shift at lightning speed. On the other side, the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II gazed serenely outward. This version of Her Majesty's likeness, designed by Canadian artist Susanna Blunt in 2003, showed the Queen without a crown, a subtle but powerful choice that portrayed her as both sovereign and human, a ruler and a relatable figure. The contrast between the ancient dignity of the crown and the modern simplicity of her portrait gave the coin a quiet gravitas, anchoring it firmly in the 21st century while honoring the weight of centuries past. The minting of the 2015 5-cent coin was a technological marvel. Struck with precision, using nickel-plated steel blanks, these coins were designed to be both durable and cost-effective. Advances in minting technology meant sharper images, longer-lasting finishes, and greater uniformity. But even in the most advanced processes, perfection remained elusive. In the very heart of the precision lay the possibility of small errors, tiny imperfections that would one day turn a simple 5-cent coin into a treasure worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Somewhere during the minting process, a few 2015 5-cent coins were struck with anomalies. Perhaps a slight misalignment of the dies. Perhaps a minute impurity in the blank. Perhaps a brief lapse in the relentless rhythm of the mint's machines. Whatever the cause, these minor miracles were created, coins with doubled features, ghosted images, misstrikes, or microscopic varieties in their finish that would not be catalogued until years later when sharp-eyed collectors, feeling something different between their fingers, began to investigate. The rarity of these error coins was staggering. Out of tens of millions produced, only a handful exhibited the traits that would someday command astronomical prices at auction. And rarity, as every seasoned collector knows, is the secret ingredient that transforms a common object into an icon. Beyond error coins, the 2015 5-cent pieces that managed to remain in perfect, pristine, untouched condition also began to fetch immense attention. Most coins, tossed into pockets, jostled in drawers, scraped across countertops, bore the scars of everyday life. But a precious few, sealed away in mint rolls, forgotten in vaults, or carefully preserved by forward-thinking collectors, remained perfect. Under the unforgiving magnification of grading experts, these coins shone like small metallic suns, their flawless surfaces untouched by time or handling. As stories began to surface of collectors finding these rarities, excitement grew. One young numismatist in Montreal, barely into his teens, made headlines when he discovered a near-perfect 2015 5-cent piece in his grandfather's coin jar. Another collector in Vancouver unearthed a double-die obverse variant, its subtle duplication invisible to the naked eye but dazzling under magnification. These were not just coins, they were tickets into a fascinating, treasure-laden world. Auction houses, sensing the growing frenzy, began to feature the 2015 nickel more prominently in their catalogs. Bidding wars broke out among collectors determined to secure the finest examples. Prices climbed steadily, then sharply. What had once been a pocket-change novelty was now an investment opportunity of breathtaking proportions. Those lucky enough to own high-grade or rarer versions of the 2015 5-cent coin found themselves courted by major buyers, private collectors, and museums alike. The journey of these coins was about more than money, though. It was about connection. Each coin told a story, of its creation, its survival, its discovery. It linked the Royal Canadian Mint story tradition with the hands of a child counting coins on a kitchen table, with the excitement of a collector unveiling a rare find under a loupe, with the gasps of an auction audience watching history unfold before their eyes. Every 5-cent piece minted in 2015 carried within it the echoes of the past, the legacy of the beaver design, the enduring bond between Canada and the monarchy, the relentless drive for excellence that characterized the Royal Mint. Yet in the small errors, in the accidental beauty of imperfection, a new story was written, a story of rare fortune, hidden in plain sight. The final, jaw-dropping moment came when one of these perfect, rare 2015 Canada 5-cent coins crossed the auction block. Certified as pristine beyond compare, with a rare mint error that made it utterly unique, it shattered all previous records. Bidding was fierce, emotions ran high, and when the final hammer fell, the coin had sold for an astonishing $180,000. A simple nickel, easily overlooked, easily forgotten, had become a legend. Today, collectors everywhere dream of finding their own 2015 treasure. They sort through old change, examine forgotten rolls, and peer at every nickel under bright lights, hoping to catch that gleam of possibility. The legend of the 2015 Canada 5 cents continues to grow, fueled by hope, passion, and the eternal truth that sometimes, in the smallest things, the greatest fortunes, and the greatest stories, are found. In the months that followed the record-breaking auction, the world of Canadian numismatics experienced something of a renaissance. Forums buzzed with chatter about the 2015 nickel. Videos surfaced on social media of people carefully sifting through jars of old change, their eyes sharp, their fingers quick. It seemed everyone, from seasoned collectors to casual hobbyists, wanted to find the next great discovery. Flea markets saw a surge in traffic as hopeful treasure hunters combed through dusty boxes of coins, their hearts racing at the thought of unearthing a hidden gem. Yet what made the 2015 5-cent coin so captivating wasn't just the money. It was the magic of possibility, the idea that something extraordinary could still exist in the most ordinary places. It was the same feeling that had driven treasure hunters for centuries, the same longing that filled the sails of explorers heading into uncharted waters. In a world increasingly dominated by instant gratification and digital experiences, the physical thrill of finding a tangible, valuable object was a powerful and almost nostalgic pull. At coin shows across Canada, the 2015 nickel took center stage. Dealers proudly displayed examples behind glass, their surfaces gleaming under the show lights. Conversations buzzed around them, discussions about die varieties, strike quality, and the nuances of grading. Children tugged at their parents' sleeves, wide-eyed as they listened to stories of rare coins changing hands for small fortunes. It was a community experience, a shared excitement that transcended age, background, and experience. The Royal Canadian Mint, meanwhile, found itself once again at the center of attention. For decades, the Mint had been known for its innovation, producing some of the world's most beautiful and technically advanced coins. Commemorative issues featuring holograms, colorized designs, and even coins made of pure gold and platinum had solidified its reputation. But the humble 5-cent piece of 2015 reminded everyone that sometimes, it was the simple things that made the deepest impact. Inside the Mint's walls, among the humming of machinery and the clinking of freshly struck coins, there was a quiet sense of pride. The workers, engravers, and quality inspectors who had handled the 2015 nickels during production might not have known they were helping create legends, but now, looking back, there was an undeniable thrill in realizing that they had been a part of something greater. Historians and numismatists began to dig deeper, trying to trace the roots of the rare variants. Was it a specific die pair that caused the doubled features? Was there a temporary calibration error in the machinery? Or perhaps, as some romantics suggested, it was simply fate, a reminder that even in an age of mass production, true uniqueness could never be entirely erased. That in the world of high-end collecting, the 2015 5-cent coin began to be spoken of with reverence normally reserved for much older, much rarer coins. It was mentioned alongside legendary pieces like the 1936 cent, the 1911 pattern dollar, and the 1921 50-cent piece. It earned its place not just because of its monetary value, but because of the sheer improbability of its rise. From the unnoticed churn of everyday life to the glittering stages of world-renowned auctions, collectors who managed to secure high-grade examples became minor celebrities within the numismatic world. They shared their stories in interviews, detailed the heart-pounding moments of discovery, and inspired countless others to embark on their own hunts. It was not uncommon for a single coin to pass through several hands, each time commanding a higher price as its legend grew.